Shalom. This Shabbat we are once again reading two Torah portions together, the Parashat of Acharei Mot and Kedoshim. These two portions are read together actually in all non-leap year years, and it's interesting to note that most years Parashat Kedoshim is read either right before or right after Yom HaAtzmaut, Israel Independence Day. The words Acharei Mot literally mean after the death of, and the portion of Acharei Mot is named for its opening verse, Sefer Vayikra, Leviticus 16:1. HaShem spoke to Moshe after the death of Aaron's two sons when they approached before HaShem and died. So, chronologically speaking, which we never are, this parsha continues from Shmini, wherein we read of the death of Nadav and Avihu on the 8th day, on Rosh Chodesh Nisan, the day of the dedication of the tabernacle. The first chapter of this portion is all about the awesome service of the high priest on Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. But what is the connection between the death of Nadav and Avihu and Yom Kippur? Is there a connection? Yom Kippur, as we will recall, was the culmination of the second 40-day period that Moshe spent on Mount Sinai, beseeching God to forgive the nation for the debacle of the golden calf. That day, the 10th of Tishrei, was the day that Moshe descended from Mount Sinai with the second tablets of the law, and became the Day of Atonement for every generation. And Yom Kippur is the holiest, most important day of the year, the day of the greatest revelation of God's love, the day of the fulfillment of His promise of forgiveness, renewal, and return. The Holy Zohar states that the power of Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, is so great that it is literally the nexus of all the forces of creation. For our sages teach that there are three dimensions or segments of existence, as it were, and the world is divided into these: space, time, and life. In Hebrew, olam, meaning place, begins with an ayin, shana, meaning year, beginning with a shin, signifying time, and nefesh, beginning with a nun, soul. And the secret of this concept is understood from the verse in the book of Exodus regarding the giving of the Torah at Mount Sinai, which was Exodus 19:18, wherein we read, "And all of Mount Sinai was smoking." In Hebrew, v'hahar Sinai, ashan kulo. And the Hebrew word ashan, meaning smoke, is comprised of the three letters ayin, shin, nun, which represent the three words olam, shana, nefesh. But what is the nexus that happens on Yom Kippur? The Holy Zohar states that on the Day of Atonement, all three of these aspects come together in perfect unity. At the crescendo of the Yom Kippur service, which is Shana, the aspect of time, the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, who is Nefesh, the aspect of life, enters into the Holy of Holies, which is Olam, the aspect of place, and enacts a great rectification, which brings tremendous blessing and atonement. He enters into the holiest place on earth with a shovel of coals taken from the altar and places incense on these coals. Coals on incense, doesn't that sound familiar? Back in Parashat Shmini, chapter 10, we learned the sons of Aaron, Nadav and Avihu, each took his fire pan. They put fire in them and placed incense upon it, and they brought before HaShem a strange fire that He had not commanded them. A fire came forth from before HaShem and consumed them, and they died before HaShem. But the Yom Kippur service, God did command. So what is the connection between the death of Nadav and Avihu and the order of the service of Yom Kippur, that the Parsha begins with the death of Nadav and Avihu? Actually, it was in their merit that the Kohen Gadol could even enter into the Holy of Holies on Yom Kippur to bring the incense, because the ability, the possibility, the merit even of the high priest to enter into the Holy of Holies on Yom Kippur comes from Nadav and Avihu. Much has been taught about the nature of that strange fire that they brought, which they were not commanded, and there's much to understand. But I think that whatever it was, these men were so great. All of Israel mourned for them, and we still mourn for them today. And we are taught that the whole reason that the high priest can do this service is because somehow what they did opened up the way. Opened up the way. So now please open up your heart in the deepest way. Imagine, of all things, the holiness of the tabernacle, which would become the temple, that was revealed on the day of its dedication, that holiness came to be revealed through the unauthorized coming close of Nadav and Avihu. And lest we think that they were wayward or lacking in something, how does Hashem himself express himself about what they have done and their punishment? Back in Parashat Shemini, chapter 10 and verse 3, Moshe said to Aaron, "Of this did Hashem speak, saying, I will be sanctified through those who are nearest to me. Thus I will be honored before the entire people." And Aaron was silent. Thus I will be honored before the entire people, and Aaron was silent. As Rashi cites, Moshe said to Aaron, "Listen, my brother, I knew that the sanctuary would be sanctified through God's most intimate, and I thought it would be me or you. But now I see that these were greater than both of us." So if they were so great, why did they do this? And why were they punished? Why did they do it? Again, there's so much to say, so much has been learned about this, but the bottom line is they wanted to. I think that they thought it would be best for the nation. Maybe they knew what the result would be, and yet they felt it had to be done. But our sages teach us that these men were on the highest level, a level that can't even be understood or related to in this world. And on that highest level that can't be perceived in this world, it really wasn't even a sin. And neither was their death a punishment. And, open up your heart in the deepest way, the whole awesome Yom Kippur service is an extension of their service. That's the connection. And Aaron, how did he react when this happened? Back in Parashat Shemini, Vayidom Aharon. Aaron was silent. Aaron's silence is powerful. That silence, that acceptance, is one of the most important lessons that we learn from the death of Nadav and Avihu. And Aaron, I imagine, bowed his head and remained silent. And this week, in the state of Israel, as the sirens sounded throughout the country, on Memorial Day for fallen soldiers, the entire nation bowed its head and remained silent for a moment for the 23,544 sons of Aaron, the soldiers who have fallen in Israel's wars. The verse says, "I will be sanctified by those who are nearest to me." And the Torah also states, "And your brethren, the entire house of Israel, shall bewail the fire that Hashem has ignited." You know, the sequence of the names of these two Torah portions together, Acharei Mot-Kedoshim, literally translates as after the death of the holy. And how fitting for this very special week in Israel, with the passage from Memorial Day for fallen soldiers to Independence Day, the next day. What sacrifices our nation makes to sanctify Hashem so that we can live according to the tenets of the second of our Torah portions this week, Parashat Kedoshim. The Torah portion of Kedoshim begins with a call to holiness. A call to holiness, Leviticus 19:1. Hashem spoke to Moshe saying, "Speak to the entire assembly of the children of Israel and say to them, you shall be holy, for I, Hashem your God, am holy." Now, unlike some other instances in which teachings of the various mitzvot were given over to the people under various circumstances and at various times and various groupings, these commandments, this parsha, was said by Moshe behakel, meaning he gathered together the entire nation, because the laws of Kedoshim, which contain so many basic foundations of our lives, are not designed for an individual, but for an entire nation to keep together. Kedoshim is one of the parshiot, one of the Torah sections with the most mitzvot, of a very wide variety. All of these commandments have a common connection. They all fit within the framework of the first verse, the call to be holy. The parsha features mitzvot that apply between man and Hashem, such as prohibitions against idolatry, the commandment to keep Shabbat, prohibitions against making false oaths and against forbidden mixtures. These are things that are of concern to God alone. Then there are commandments between man and his fellow man. You shall love your friend as yourself. Reverence for parents, prohibitions against stealing, vengeance, falsehood, and talebearing. Commandment to rebuke one's fellow and to honor the aged. Commandments of social justice, such as not withholding salary and not placing any sort of stumbling block and never taking a bribe and loving the convert and proper weights and scales. Laws of reverence for the temple, some laws of the land, prohibitions against following the wicked ways of the nations, and forbidden relationships. In short, Parashat Kedoshim contains God's vision for a society. So Moshe has them all together, the whole nation assembled, and they're hearing all sorts of incredible things that are all part of a call towards holiness. Within the variance of these commandments is that call. And so is the state of Israel, within the variance of these commandments, ultimately a call to holiness for this whole world. That's our challenge and that's our vision that we're coming towards. And this Parashat of Kedoshim was said in a gathering of the whole congregation, because the holiness that the Torah aims for cannot be achieved by an individual who separates himself from this world and lives a monastic lifestyle. You know, some people, they think they're very holy because they have nothing to do with anybody. But real, lasting holiness can't be achieved by living in solitude. It might look holy, but it doesn't fool HaShem. And Israel isn't supposed to be a nation of monks or hermits or so-called holy men who live apart from society. It's interesting that back in Exodus 22, verse 30, we were instructed already previously, Acharei Kodesh Tihiyun li, that verse states, Exodus 22:30, Acharei Kodesh Tihiyun li, people of holiness, you shall be to me. We're instructed to be people. And this is one of the deepest challenges, promises, and goals of Torah life, that a person could be holy, yet a person. And this call was issued behakel, meaning in the presence of the entire congregation, for we are to be holy, to be striving towards holiness together as a community, and very much part of this world, not in solitude, but by being part of the whole. So about this call to be holy, right? What is that all about? How's it done? You shall be holy, for I am holy. If Israel is called to be holy on the basis of God's holiness, because HaShem is holy, how can people to be told to be holy like God? What's the connection between the holiness required of Israel and the holiness of HaShem? Well, we know that according to Torah, holiness is not a mystical concept, but something very real. And holiness, the definition of the word, means separation. So here's how the call to holiness, to a life of holiness, works in the Torah's mindset. Because how can we be like HaShem? Because even though God is separate from the world, He's not disconnected from it, but He's found within the world. So Israel is commanded to be similar to HaShem in this aspect, to be a holy nation, to be separate, but not to be disconnected from this world. God doesn't want us to simply fix ourselves. He wants a just society. He wants a fixed world. That's what Parashat Kedoshim is all about. You know what? Israel, after 69 years, has contributed to this world in every area of positive human endeavor. That's what it means to be holy, to be a people of holiness. This is the vision for the state of Israel, to live as a caring, just, compassionate, reasonable society. So how fitting that we read these portions this week, and may we continue to heed Hashem's call to be holy as He is holy. May we grow stronger in that calling and commitment, so that through the example of the state of Israel, Hashem's light grows ever stronger in this world.